Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I hope you're all doing very well. So I just watched To All the Boys, Always and Forever. Let's talk about it. To All the Boys, Always and Forever is directed by Michael Fimignari. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. He also directed the previous film in this franchise, which was, I believe, To All the Boys, P.S. I Still Love You. So he's already quite familiar when it comes to this franchise. And I have to say that this franchise was such a breakout hit for Netflix, indisputably. I remember when the first To All the Boys film came out, and it was such a phenomenon. It was such a reset, a cultural reset, because this was during a time when Netflix was really reinvigorating the rom-com genre on its platform, where you had films like, Always Be My Maybe kind of blowing up as well. And the fact that they had Asian leads was also quite revolutionary, unfortunately, but still fortunately revolutionary for this genre as well, to see, other races being represented in this genre in a way that we haven't. So it was just such a moment. It was such a moment to see this rom-com directed towards, younger viewers, and at the center of which we had these really charismatic actors portraying these really likable and relatable characters. And sure, it was sugary sweet. It was diabetes inducing sweet, but that's exactly what people wanted from the genre at the time. And so it just became such a cultural phenomenon to the point where we ended up getting 3 of these films. I personally did not jump onto the To All the Boys train at the very beginning. I actually only checked out the 2 films last year when the second film came out. I think it was last year that the second film came out. And I enjoyed the films. I enjoyed them. Listen, I don't think I'm the prime target audience for these films, but I still very much enjoyed the first one, less so the second one. And I still think it's perfectly fine that these films aren't targeted towards me, because here on this channel, what we're not gonna do, what we're never going to do, is diminish the importance of media that is directed primarily towards teenage girls. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I've been there before. I've been there before where stuff that I enjoyed as a teenage girl was ridiculed, was mocked, was dismissed, even though these things were loved by so many and got a lot of revenue as well and were respectable successes, both financially but also with audiences. But no, because they were directed towards teenage girls, they were mocked. They were seen as less than, as opposed to stuff that was directed towards teenage boys. Listen, I have a whole video planned on this subject matter, but anyways, I just wanted to address that here because I don't want it to seem as though I'm being snobby, like, oh, this isn't my cup of tea because I'm not a lowly teenage girl. Absolutely not. I love stuff that is directed towards teenage girls still. It's just that this doesn't happen to be my franchise. But like I said, I did very much enjoy the first film in this franchise, less so the second film. I'm about to share with you my thoughts on the third and apparently final installment of the To All the Boys franchise. But first of all, before I do, please be sure to subscribe to my channel and make sure you turn on your notifications so that you can be told when I upload next. And be sure to share down below in the comments what your thoughts were on this film, especially considering it's come at the perfect time, Valentine's Day weekend. Okay, I'm sure a lot of you guys will be checking this one out. But without further ado, let's discuss. As I've already said repeatedly at this point, I very much enjoyed the first film, but I've found less of a purpose, less of a reason for why the second and indeed third films exist. I would have been perfectly fine with them just ending the story of Lara-Jean and Peter at the first film, but of course they had to continue on because it was so popular. It was such a cultural reset. So then we had the sequel where we were kind of exploring these other letters that Lara-Jean had sent to her other crushes, and there was a kind of competition when it comes to her affection in the second film. But this time around, we're focused on this pivotal point in Lara-Jean and indeed her classmates' lives where they're facing their senior year. Their time in high school is up. They have to face the real world now, or almost the real world. And so now they're looking at college applications and seeing where they're going to be headed towards for the next 3 or 4 years, I think it is in America, to do their degree and start their lives, their adult lives. So this is a very crucial moment in Lara-Jean's life that is explored in this film. And it's very much explored through the lens of her relationship as opposed to her own autonomy as a person, as a well-rounded character who's looking forward to her career prospects, looking forward to what she wants to do with the rest of her life. And I would say that that's a major criticism when it comes to that side of the story. Because whilst I did enjoy the fact that we were exploring quite realistically the impact of her going to a college far away from the college that Peter was going to be going to, and how that would affect their relationship, I like the fact that that is explored. I just don't think it should have been the be-all end-all of the conversation, and it pretty much was. Like, the real focus here was on the relationship and the relationship alone. The only thing we're told about what attracts Lara-Jean to certain colleges like NYU, for example, is the fact that she fell in love with the city, and also they have a great lit program. Like, that's literally it. Like, they have a great lit program. We've seen this time and time again. The great science program, the great physics program. There's never anything specific when it comes to what she actually is looking for, academically speaking, in these colleges, which is crazy because this is someone who manages to get into, I believe, NYU and like Berkeley. Like, these are huge, very prestigious Ivy League universities in America. So for someone to be able to get into those kinds of universities, you'd think she'd have a bit more of a clue on what she was expecting from them. Like, this is a huge deal. But anyways, this is a rom-com, so I'm not really diving into her preparation techniques when it comes to her applying to these colleges and whatnot. That's not really the focus of the film, but I would have liked to see it be somewhat explored because it is a huge factor when it comes to going to college. Like, actually studying kind of matters. Now, where Lara-Jean ends up going for college is such a big deal because it turns out that Peter has been able to secure a place at Stanford. That is where he's going to be headed because he has this lacrosse scholarship. So he's going to be going to Stanford somehow. This is Stanford. How did he get into Stanford? I don't get how good he is at lacrosse. How did he get into Stanford? Please, please. Anyway, in this imaginary world, he's been able to get into Stanford. And so that's why Lara-Jean is so desperate to get into the school as well, because they want to be together during college because they're facing that kind of very relatable fear of being this high school couple who will be going into this transitional phase in their life, and they're worried that their relationship may not be able to survive it, especially if they end up going to different colleges. And when you're dealing with a country like America, which is just so huge. Here we have a case where the college that Lara-Jean is interested in, NYU, is literally 3,000 miles away from Stanford, and it's literally just a straight line across the country, which I find hilarious. But 3,000 miles away, that would be like to the other side of Europe. If we were talking about, European terms and European geography from the UK. So it's just such a vast amount of distance, and I can understand why there was this kind of hesitation, especially when she decided to look into NYU and not just Berkeley, which is way, way closer. Because of Peter's secured scholarship at Stanford, I can't even say that with a straight face. Because he has that secured scholarship, he knows that there's no way he'll be able to go to any other universities. So it really is up to Lara-Jean to make that decision on whether or not she will be joining him. And I have to say that throughout the film, another issue that I had when it came to just exploring the impact of these choices on their relationship is the fact that Peter was just so difficult. I really didn't like the character of Peter in this film, and I vaguely remember rooting for the other guy in the previous film. Like, I feel like there was like a love triangle in the previous film. Again, I'm not wholly invested in this franchise, but there was a love triangle, and there was another guy involved in said love triangle who I was rooting for more than Peter. I vaguely believe, I do believe that to be the case, because as fun and cute as Noah Centineo is, oh my god, I'm so sorry for butchering his name, but as fun as he is, I don't personally think that his character is as likable as Lara-Jean. I always found them to be a bit of an odd combination, but I guess that's what makes it charming, opposites attract and whatnot. Anyways, the reason why I bring it up is because I was reminded of such when I just saw how Peter reacted to Lara-Jean, choosing to go to another university. First of all, she says she wants to go to Berkeley, and he reacts negatively to that, but then she explains that she wants to go to NYU because she fell in love with the city after the trip and the trip to the campus, and his reaction to that was also quite petty, also quite unattractive. And I get it, because they tried to give him this kind of backstory, this kind of further character development of the fact that he suffers from some sort of abandonment issue because of his father and the way that his father left him. Like, I understand what they were trying to establish there, but it was still an ugly look on him, and it also lasted for like the majority of the film, which didn't help my personal sentiment enlightenment on the matter. So it seemed as though for the majority of the film, he was kind of holding her back from taking these really important life decisions for herself, which they should have been taken for herself. And unfortunately, that just led to me feeling like he was less of a likable character in this film. He kind of sucked for the majority of it, until the very end where things kind of inevitably work out. He did kind of suck. Outside of this, a storyline of Lara-Jean trying to figure out the next steps that she's going to take in terms of which college she's going to be going to and how that could potentially affect her relationship with Peter, we do have the B storyline of her father getting married to this woman that he's been seeing, and all of the feelings of jealousy and resentment that we've seen previously from Lara-Jean when it comes to this fear that their mother would be replaced by the woman. I can't remember her name, but that's kind of dissipated, and it's nice to see. It's nice to see that we have had that character development on that front, where the girls feel so much more open to sharing their lives with this other woman, even though it must be so painful for them still, considering the fact that their mother has died. Like, their mother is no longer with them and they won't be able to share these new memories with her, but they're accepting the fact that their father has moved on and he's so much happier, and they're happy for him. And I liked that side story quite a bit, because it did feel like a kind of B storyline that was kind of coming full circle from the first film. Although I will say, speaking of the girls kind of connecting to their Korean mother, we do see at the beginning of the film that they do go on this trip to South Korea, and whilst it's fun, whilst it's cute, okay, it's nice to hear the K-pop, it's nice to see the culture, I very much appreciated it. And again, it kind of hammers home the idea that we have a rom-com here that is led by an Asian lead, which is excellent. But personally, it was so detached from the rest of the story that I didn't quite see the point of it being there. Like, by the end of the film, I was like, okay, this was great, but like, why was it here? Why was it at the beginning of the film? Because honestly, you could take out that scene where they're in South Korea and nothing would change. Nothing at all. Which is actually a shame, because there's even that moment where Lara-Jean is interacting with a Korean girl, and the Korean girl is kind of talking to her in Korean, but she can't understand and she tries to express this. And I felt like it was an attempt to explore, you know, Lara-Jean's sense of Asian identity, considering the fact that she's an Asian American whose Korean mother is no longer with her, so she isn't able to teach her the Korean things and the parts of Korean culture that she wasn't able to learn when she was alive. You know, I feel like there was an attempt to explore that, which would have been quite admirable, but unfortunately, once again, it has no relevance to the rest of the film, so it just feels like a scene that was kind of tagged on for no apparent reason other than to have fun in Korea, which yay, absolutely, but thematically speaking, it was totally irrelevant. And in terms of the C and D storylines, when it comes to Lara-Jean's friends and the supporting cast at the school, I thought it was fine. I thought it was cute. I mean, we're not really doing anything revolutionary with these side characters. We have a stereotypical gay best friend here, unfortunately. We have a stereotypical best friend who's kind of anti-love, anti-romance, but she's kind of being worn down and she's kind of warming up to the idea of enjoying prom and all of that. Like, we've seen that kind of character time and time and time again. And whilst the actors do a reasonably good job in delivering these performances, there's nothing revolutionary here that's happening on screen. And honestly, when it comes to the relationship between Peter and Lara-Jean themselves, there's nothing really revolutionary going on there on that front either. At this point, their relationship is established after the events of the first and second film, so they're in this very comfortable place in their relationship. They're very lovey-dovey, very sugary sweet in their displays of romance. So they're kind of in this kind of comfortable zone in their relationship, except for the fact that obviously we do have that common trope that we see time and time again of them contemplating whether or not they will lose their virginity during prom or after prom specifically. So there was nothing revolutionary on that front either. So when it comes to everything outside of the whole, you know, college debate, and also the fact that her father ended up getting married to this other woman and that storyline has kind of wrapped up nicely there's nothing really revolutionary when it comes to these other C, D, E storylines. And also, just as a small side note, not to throw any shade or anything, but speaking of the prom scene, I was shocked to see that Lara-Jean's dress was so lackluster. Can we talk about how lackluster her dress was? Like, in comparison to her friend had this really cool black dress with these like black opera gloves. I was impressed. I was like, girl, you have style. Like, yeah, she's definitely giving you alternative, okay, she's definitely giving you I'm not like the other girls, but I really enjoyed her ensemble and I found it to be infinitely more like eye-catching than Lara-Jean's dress, which is this basic kind of, you know, V-neck dress that had these small straps and otherwise was like floral. It matched her personality, I guess, but I definitely feel like the character has had some better style moments in this franchise for sure. And next up, I did want to talk about the music in this film because oh boy did I have an issue with it. I hated the music in this film. Now don't get me wrong, it's not that I hated the particular songs in the film. Okay, the songs were definitely giving me, you know, FIFA 15. I don't know if you know the game FIFA, which is basically a football game, and by football I mean soccer game. That's like on PS4 and whatnot. I don't have to explain what FIFA is to you, but FIFA has like these great soundtracks, and basically this film felt like one of the FIFA soundtracks had been vomited all over it. Like that's literally what the film's soundtrack sounded like, where they just got a FIFA soundtrack, copied and pasted it over the film itself and called it a day. And this reminds me of one of my spiels that I had in another review where I was lamenting on the fact that, you know, oftentimes films, especially within this genre or kind of mid-tier films, don't often commit to having really gorgeous, memorable, atmospheric scores anymore. I really miss the good old days where we had these beautiful scores that told us how to feel, manipulated our emotions subliminally. I really miss those days because now we have songs that just shout words at us, shout explicit words with explicit meaning at us. And because so many songs are used back to back to back to back in this film, there's no particular song that stands out, truly, other than the Oasis song, of course. There's no particular song that stands out. So the soundtrack overall just feels very blah. It very much gave me download the playlist on Spotify when you're done watching this film vibes. And finally, let's briefly talk about the runtime of this film. And when I say briefly, I mean briefly. Because why was this film so long? It was so unbelievably, unnecessarily long. This film is almost 2 hours. 2 hours long. That's crazy. Like, this is literally just wrapping up the storyline. I don't understand why it was dragged out for so long. And there were so many like false endings as well. Like, oh, is this going to end with her being here? Oh no, is it going to end with them breaking up? There was so much of that happening over and over again by the end that I just got fed up. I just wanted to wrap things up by the end of the film. So I really don't feel like it needed to be as long as it was. So with all of that being said, I'm going to be giving To All the Boys, Always and Forever a 6 out of 10. So that's it from me. Now that I told you guys my thoughts on To All the Boys, Always and Forever, it's time for you guys to let me know what your thoughts were down in the comments below. Please be sure to subscribe to catch your videos coming up. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!